Barstool Tate, I think his name. One of the Barstool guys. I got a shout out on his TikTok and went on Twitter, and basically just for a full week, it was just Ohio State fans asking me on Twitter like I'm the biggest idiot in the world because I'm one of 64 people who ranked them fourth instead of second.
Welcome into another great week, another great conversation. I have Shaun Goodwin with me from the Idaho Statesman and also an AP Top 25 voter, good friend of mine from college. We're both Jayhawks. Rock Chalk, as always.
Rock Chalk.
Shaun, let's get into this. I haven't talked to an AP Top 25 voter ever. So what goes into your process there? How you do your voting?
You're making me feel special there, Nick.
That's what I do.
I know, jumping right in, you're buttering me up. No, it's great. Honestly, I was shocked. I was shocked when I found out I was an AP Top 25 voter, honestly. Basically, there's only 60, 62, 65 of them in the country. I know it can fluctuate. And it's basically if you work for a newspaper who's partners with AP in a city that has a big college football team, which typically is most of the P4s, but obviously Boise's made a bit of a reputation for itself down the years. So covering Boise State, just kind of fell into being AP voter on just my second year covering college football. But I love it, man. It really does keeps me. I feel like so more engaged just in the week-to-week college football than I even would be anyway. I also do a top 25 group of 5 for Hero Sports. So it's just G5, P4 all over the place. But no, it's great. I feel like, last year I got dropped in right before the season started. So didn't even get to do a preseason top 25 or nothing. So this year was my first time doing a preseason top 25. I won't lie, it was probably just as bad as a lot of other people's. Like Clemson up there, Penn State up there. It shows what do we really know going into the season. Just kind of going through the season. It's a little bit of obviously, watching the games, my personal opinions on what I'm actually watching, the situations of, quarterbacks, injuries, rotations. And honestly, for me, I use the Vegas spreads quite a lot. I feel like you look at Vegas and they'll say, "Oh, so and so Georgia's going to beat this D2 school in week 15 by 42 points." And they win by like 40 points. So I'm like, Vegas is onto something. So I use the Vegas spread, so it's something I'm not, super familiar with, like what the score spread was going to be if I couldn't watch the game, and kind of take it from there. And it's, I guess, just to wrap up this long-winded answer, I try to avoid the college football Reddit because there's a ranking of all the AP voters and how close we get to the actual votes, and then everyone dissects. If I put 1 week, I put BYU or Texas Tech a few weeks after that blowout, which my bad, I fixed it a week later. But I was just getting shredded for the whole week. It's just I just keep to my own rankings. Again, I had BYU a lot higher than a lot of people. I had South Florida a lot higher than most people for a while. I kept Utah a lot higher for a lot of the season, just stuff like that. I basically found it's more fun to produce the top 25, I think, is the actual top 25, rather than just kind of going what the rest of the top 25 is doing, what the group is thinking, and taking it from there.
Okay, so you do see people comment on what you're doing.
Yeah. My big one this year was I had Ohio State below Indiana most of the season. And at one point, I dropped them down to 4. I actually finished with them as number 4, obviously, after that undefeated Big Ten championship. But a few weeks before that, I had both Georgia and Texas Tech ranked above Ohio State. And Barstool Tate, I think his name, one of the Barstool guys, I got a shout out on his TikTok and went on Twitter, and basically just for a full week, it was just Ohio State fans asking me on Twitter like I'm the biggest idiot in the world because I'm one of 64 people who ranked them fourth instead of second. Like, it's fine. It's fine.
Hey, there you go. You're famous now. If Barstool's talking about you, you're famous.
Famous. Yeah.
You watch a lot of Group of Five football as well, and really going into this season, Boise State was the favorite of the Group of Five teams to make the playoff like they did last season, and it was kind of a crash and burn out for them this year. The way the season ended, it was a 38-7 loss to Washington in that LA Bowl, the last LA Bowl.
Yeah, I know.
How do you digest the football season and why it went so bad for the Broncos?
Yeah, I know. The very final LA Bowl hosted by Gronk. Let's not forget that. Which I met Gronk as well, and I think he was best way to put it, adoringly dumb. I think.
I can see that.
He walked up to the podium and tripped over the chair and went, "I'm drunk already." And I'm like, "Is he actually drunk already?" I don't know. But now, Boise State, going to the AP poll, I was actually, a lot of people voted Boise State in the top 25 in their preseason, and I didn't. And Boise State fans, again, kind of acted like I was the devil. It was like, oh, we can't even get our own writer to vote for us. But, it was coming off Ashton Jeanty, who obviously, one of the best running backs we've seen, probably since Adrian Peterson, Christ, in the college game. So I knew that was a big part. Maddox Madsen, good quarterback, nothing special. I think we've seen it this season again, going up against P4 opponents. So all this going in, I didn't even rank him top 25. And then Boise State comes out week 1 of the season and gets boat raced 34-7 by South Florida. Who obviously, they has got really exciting season till it kind of fell apart at the end. But for a lot of people I've heard, I've only been in Boise since 2022, been on the BSU beat since start of 2024. For excitement, it wasn't people's ideal Boise State season. I mean, at one point they were 4-2 in conference, they were 6-6. Not 6-6, sorry, they were 4-4 overall record. It was a little dodgy at times. And then they improbably, win out. I don't say they improbably won their final 2 games, but starter Maddox Madsen gets injured. They're running with Max Cupforth, who's a walk-on, redshirt sophomore from down the road. He's a Boise kid. They go to Utah State, win on the road by points. They beat Colorado State. San Diego State implodes against New Mexico. And they find themselves in another Mountain West Championship hosting somehow because of a 4-way tiebreaker that went to computers, which that was a whole thing itself. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Boise State is leaving the Mountain West on the back of 3 straight titles, which has never been done in the Mountain West. Again, the LA Bowl, 38-10 to Washington, like you said. What wasn't as close as I anticipated. Again, Maddox Madsen came out of the game injured at halftime, but by that point it was 24-3. So even then it was basically game over. So retooling to do in the offseason, going into the Pac-12, which again, that's a whole new excitement. I can't complain about year 2.
Pac-12, yeah, the new Pac-12. How do you see Boise State fitting into that picture?
I mean, they should still be a upper team in the new Pac-12 because basically it's half of the Mountain West anyway. I mean, you got Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno, San Diego, Utah State. You've got Texas State, which whatever. Oregon State was god awful this past year. Washington State just finished 6-6, and they've got Kirby Moore as their new head coach. Obviously, younger brother of Kellen Moore of New Orleans Saints, former Bronco. So that's pretty exciting. I'll be seeing him before the Potato Bowl on Monday. It's the Pac-12, or so it's the Mountain West plus some extras. So I think the more exciting part of this move is it's obviously not the Pac-12 of old. We can get into conversations of will the likes of, Stanford and USC be willing to come back? I know, especially like Stanford's got complaining about the travel across the country, which
USC is complaining about it in the Big Ten, but you're the ones that shook this whole thing up, so you can't be complaining about it.
That's what I'm saying. It's ridiculous. You guys kind of killed this. So I won't be surprised if down the line, if this Pac-12 does look decent, some of those teams want to come back west. He's got to build it back up, and I think that's the exciting part. Is it's obviously not going to be the P5. It's going to be the P4 and the group of 6. But of all the conferences, I feel like at least the Pac-12 on game alone and being the one big, West Coast conference, at least maybe has a chance to try and push that envelope, get some more money in by NIL and everything else, TV deals. And, right now for Boise State, it feels a little bit of a lateral move, but a lateral move with the potential to rise, while the Mountain West, it kind of reached a peak.
You mentioned the Potato Bowl that is played at Boise State on the blue turf.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted to go just watch a football game on blue turf, but what is it like in real life?
I don't get the hate. I enjoy it. I enjoyed it even before I came to Boise. I enjoyed it when I lived here and covered a team. And people who talk crap on the blue, I think they're just jealous. I think they are. But no, I see it on TV, and I'm like, it is stark. It's blue. But in person, it's way less in your face than you think it is on TV. And that might be because you've got the stands and everything else. When you're watching on TV, it's literally just fields of blue players. It's fun. Go be reinstalling new turf this off season for the Pac-12. So fans will actually be able to purchase pieces of the turf. They'll be selling them online. So if there's any college football fans out there who want a piece of the blue turf, keep an eye out for that. I think they last did it back in 2019 when they replaced them. And oh boy, I want to say a chunk of turf is maybe $50, $49.99. So if you're looking for a Christmas or a birthday present or something for yourself next year, I'm not a salesperson for BSU, but I do enjoy football memorabilia.
Sounds like the perfect holiday gift for a Boise State fan out there.
Exactly.
When you're watching the game, obviously you have your responsibilities of watching, but what other extra things are you doing and what are you looking for as you're watching the game so you can compile the story you want to do?
Yeah, I feel like for me, I've got my game story. I'll do a pre-game story. I'll have something that goes out at halftime and then after the game. And thankfully, I have a great editor in Jim Keezer, who is a former sports writer himself. Sometimes can make my life easier if I have to go down to a press conference or the field. Sometimes he'll wrap up the early game story for me, which is great. But I feel like a lot of what I do, and it's been my mentality as a sports writing out for the last couple of years, is at the end of the day, people are either watching a game. Everyone can watch every game they want in the goddamn Wales now for $9.99 on ESPN or whatever it is. And I won't get into the fact that we have to pay for 50 different streaming websites. But at the end of the day, people can watch these games. And if they don't watch them, they can find a quick recap. They can find highlights on Twitter. So I don't want to be just writing like this is what happens. Like I get from my main story, that's kind of part of it. But I'll always do 2 to 3 stories after the game, more focusing on actual specific facets of the game. So like for the LA Bowl, for example, Boise State star left tackle Casey opts out, declaring for the NFL draft. I get it. One is a big story for Boise State in that people just don't opt out at Boise State. But either way, so he's opted out. Then you got right tackle and right guard, Dalen Matoya and Roger Carrion. They get injured. So now all of a sudden Boise State is playing a bowl game with 2 of their 5-star defensive linemen. So again, I'm looking at that, I'm like, okay, how can I, what's the story around there? How does it affect what Boise State can do? I mean, how they finished with about 60 rushing yards, and the passing game struggled because of that. So, that's a story right there. It's not something that, someone just casually watching a game, they might know, they might hear injuries happen, but how can I actually dissect, what's actually happening because of those injuries or because of that opt-outs? And actually bringing people, viable content that maybe they wasn't a thought of themselves, or just didn't have the ability, because I can go to the press conference and ask questions after a game. So that's more what I'm looking for when I'm doing a game story.
And there's this huge digital push in all of journalism right now. What have you seen from that aspect, that your paper about that print side and how digital is affecting that, and maybe something more that you need to do that you wouldn't have done in the past?
More that I need to do, and I need to do better. Vertical video is the new one. Not just, for the longest time, horizontal, as we're taught in journalism school. And now because of TikTok and I guess Instagram,
Instagram stories, yep.
Yeah, it's all vertical now. So it takes a lot of like my midweek press conferences, availabilities. I don't travel with a photographer on often. It's taking vertical video and uploading and chopping it up. That's a big part of it that print journalists typically wouldn't have to do, at least at one of a larger newspaper. That's a big one, honestly. Obviously, videos always in front of mind, but we're lucky enough to have photographers and videographers to deal with that. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, we haven't been completely overtaken by our AI overloads yet, but we're trying. And again, I love Otter. I love my what you call it. Transcription services.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is great. I use it too for stories as well.
I know. It's made me so lazy now. It was down a week or so ago, and we could work Slack is blowing up. Like, oh god, is Otter not working? And I just got done, I think, doing some basketball stuff at BSU. And, I had 2 15-minute interview clips, audio, and I was like, man, I don't want to go through that myself. I just wanted to, and also wasn't working, so I had to hand transcribe the quotes I needed, and so it's got excuses. But yeah,
I still remember when in college, when you're in there at the press conference with Bill Self, KU men's basketball coach, the way he reacted to your accent. What have from England, your Liverpool accent? What has been your reaction from coaches or people in Boise, Idaho? Because that's even probably more of a surprise to people.
Yeah, good old Bill. I think it was my first press conference, just, barely been in journalism. Bill was stuttering Oklahoma voice. I don't know what you said, but yeah, I bet you get all the girls. Like, yeah. Bill. But it's funny. I feel like, at least like face to face, I've been around Boise now for a couple of years, so people know me. I don't get that much of it face to face. Obviously, it can come up in conversations and whatnot. I think the big one I get is when I'll come on, do like a podcast or a radio show. And I think a radio show is like a big one. Where, Boise State is playing San Diego State, and San Diego State's radio host will just get me on for a 10, 15-minute segment. And all they know is my Twitter account, they've messaged me, and then it's showtime, and I pop up with a British accent. So, that's always, that comes up in conversation. But yeah, I feel like for the most part, it doesn't get in the way. People understand me just fine for the most part. I did become best friends with Dan Mullen a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, big Liverpool fan. I was on his press conference over Zoom. Asked our questions. I was there for 35 minutes. I had to wait till the end because I was on Zoom. And yeah, we're all done and we're about to finish up. And Dan's like, oh, hold on. I want to talk to Shaun. I'm like, me? I'm not even in the room.
Yeah, he called you out? Dang.
Yeah, he called me out. He goes, "Oh, are you a Liverpool fan?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a Liverpool fan." It wasn't even like, "Are you from England?" Or guess that's just, "Are you a Liverpool fan?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm from Liverpool." And I was like, "Are you a Liverpool fan?" And I guess he was. So after the Mountain West Championship, I pulled him aside after the press conference and we were chatting, and he was telling me how his family's from Wales, from the Wrexham area. If anyone's watched the Wrexham show with Ryan Reynolds, Rob McElhenney, I think it was his granddad used to work in the mines around there.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so heavy roots to Northeast Wales and big Liverpool fan because of it. So that was fun, that kind of came up. But otherwise, I can do my job mostly perfectly fine with it.
What's the conversation around Liverpool fans these days?
Oh boy, you don't want to get me into that. Surprisingly, I didn't even see the games this weekend because obviously I was in LA and traveling back. But I know we're somehow still sitting in sixth right now, seventh. After just an awful couple of months where Liverpool had their worst stretch since. I think you're seeing records like Liverpool hasn't lost X games in a row since before World War II, and we've bought all these 120 odd million Florian Wirtz and 150 odd million Alexander Isak, and Wirtz is looking good in bits, and Isak is just, I don't know, he's either injured, he's not scoring, and I could keep on going, Nick. But basically, it's time to get the season back on track by far. I don't think winning the Premier League is real. I mean, we're only 10 points behind first, but we won it last year, and I've always said, as a sports fan like yourself, I mean, hell, being in Chicagoland area,
we don't need to get into that. That's also long-winded.
Yeah, I don't need to tell you about losing.
Yes.
But, with winning, I'm like, well, Liverpool won the title last season. We won it a few years ago. Other teams do get to win leagues sometimes. So I'm like, I'm okay with a down year as long as we finish top 5 and make the Champions League.
Oh, yeah. Those 3 minutes were just for Dan Mullen. So we'll just keep it for him when he watches this. Yeah. But you've always been a soccer guy. I mean, we did pre-game and post-game shows in college for the women's soccer team, who's doing great this last couple of years, getting to Big 12 championships. You were the beat writer for the KC Star for Sporting KC, and now you go out to Boise. So, what was that initial attraction for you to go from where you grew up in the area that you were in covering soccer out to Boise?
Yeah. I mean, I ended up in Boise frankly, I won't bore everyone with my full life job history. I covered Sporting KC and KC Current, my NWSL fans, out in Kansas City for several years. But it was on it was a freelance gig, basically. So for those who don't know, I was being paid by the article. I was writing enough to make, decent money. But that doesn't come with benefits or vacation time or healthcare, this. So, once I turned 26, kicked off parents' healthcare. I was just like, crap, I just need to get, a job. And Idaho Statesman is owned by McClatchy, which is the same as Kansas City Star. And I just applied. There was a position called service journalism, which, again, it's just your day-to-day stories, writing second headlines. Won't bore you too much. But my editor here, Chad Kripe, I guess he knew Jeff Rosen back in Kansas City, who's my editor. So he saw Jeff was a reference for me. So he calls him up straight away. He's like, hey, saw your reference. Just curious what you know about Shaun. I was hired within a week. So I came out to Boise for, start of 2022, and I wasn't doing sports for 2.5 years. And then, the Boise State beat writer. And my goal was always to get back into sports. It was just whether it was going to be in Boise. Frankly, when I moved here, I figured, this will be a couple of year thing. I applied for jobs back in Kansas City. I was willing to start looking elsewhere. And the BSU beat writer his wife moved to California. He followed, and I just fell right into it. Right before one of Boise State's greatest seasons with Ashton Jenksy and the CFP and everything else. That was great. But yeah, no, I think I'm loving it out here. I'm actually wearing my AC Boise hat on USL Division 3 team that's starting up in April, which it'll be the first pro soccer team in Boise. So excited to go to those games. They've been selling out season tickets, and right now the stadium only holds, I want to say, like 5,000 because they're building it up. But yeah, no, super exciting. Honestly, Nick, I forgot your original question. But Boise's great. Covering football and basketball is great, even though I started with soccer. And I still have AC Boise coming up now as my new local team.
There you go. Yeah, USL. I had one of the commentators on a couple weeks ago. He does USL in Florida. Mm-hmm. And he just said USL is blowing up. I mean, he was talking about like a Portland, Maine team where the mayor's showing up, the governor's showing up. So there's a big soccer boom in the U.S. Well, what do you think has really blown the sport up? I mean, you've seen Sporting KC has always had good attendance, and NWSL, the current, they're the only, they've blown up as well, and they have their stadium and they're backed by Mahomes and all that. What do you think has been the big soccer boom in the U.S.?
This is going to sound silly, but I think especially for our age, I'm going to give FIFA, the video game, good credit.
Yeah.
I moved to the States in 2011. And frankly, not that many people cared about soccer, point blank period. And I'd say it was around 2013. I started getting friends who start playing FIFA, and there's guys like, if you remember my old roommate Matt back in college.
Oh yeah,
huge FIFA guy, and he got into soccer because of that, and a bunch of other friends, and we got to college in for me 2015, and we went around. We were in our Oliver Hall, 10th floor dorm, and we went on the elevator with signs, and we stuck FIFA room. Oh, what room were we? 318, I think we were. Like FIFA room 318. And we just have people come through, and we meet people to play FIFA because so many people are doing it. But I think that is exponentially and down the line, you've got all these young teenagers who suddenly like soccer. Combined with, I'm sure it was kind of the same age group of, soccer kids. Every kid start playing soccer when they're younger, and then eventually move on to baseball or football, whatever. The soccer facilities around the United States are just getting so much better. Obviously, again, Kansas City Overland Park has a wonderful soccer facility that opened in like 2010. So, it was new when, I was growing up. And just the opportunities for kids to be playing soccer, to engage with soccer, to watch it, obviously TV now, it's easy to get all these games. And that group of kids who was, a decade ago, young teenagers going out in their 20s and going to their 30s and having kids themselves. So that's all helped with the rise of soccer. And then obviously, of course, you've got the World Cup coming up in half a year now, which I remember that being announced years ago. I was like, oh, that'll be fun. When I finally get there, and I'm an old man of 29 years old. And here we are. So I can't complain. From when I first moved to the States 15 years ago to now, it's already night and day, and I think the sun's still got to come up some more.
Oh, for sure. And I'm a big FIFA player too. Young Boys is my team. I like the Young Boys for sure.
Don't clip that, by the way.
Yeah, don't clip that. What is it? Are they in Turkey? That team, the Young Boys?
Switzerland.
Switzerland. Okay, yeah. I like that team. I just like the way that they play.
Yeah, it's funny because they have famous old Argentinian team, Newell's Old Boys, and if I'm getting this correct, someone might want to fact check me, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct. Yeah, apparently Young Boys made their name years ago. Basically, they were just a small amateur team, and you're like, oh, there's Newell's Old Boys. Let's call ourselves the Young Boys. And now all of a sudden, they're one of the best teams in Switzerland. So fun little backgrounds. Get not just calling themselves Young Boys for the fun of it.
Yeah, no, yeah. It kind of makes it a little tricky to talk about them, but
yeah, as we just heard.
Yeah, as we just learned there. Have to keep that in though. We can't cut that out. I just won't clip it like you said. But you did bring up the World Cup, North America this summer. So Mexico and Canada also will have games. Yeah. Then the U.S., Kansas City will be one of the host cities that gets some games. How do you think that Kansas City will embrace their World Cup games, especially with how Sporting KC has been and the current has been?
Yeah, I mean, Kansas City, I'll still maintain it's the soccer capital of the US. And, you look at, the markets for like watching a World Cup draw, little small Kansas City was in the top 5. And whenever there's big games, Kansas City is always in the top 5 for watching, whether it's like US in the Gold Cup or CONCACAF. But yeah, so I just lost my train of thought there. But going forward into the World Cup, yes, Kansas City, games are going to be at Arrowhead, which I thought, especially with some of the games that are coming through, and I can't remember them off the top of my head, I thought it would have been a great idea to, use Children's Mercy Park, which I think its capacity is in the 20,000s. You have those smaller games where you can't be expecting to sell out Arrowhead for, whoever's there. I should look up the games in a second, but either way, I think the city's going to embrace it, and ultimately, if things work out nicely, you could have a Messi versus Ronaldo, Argentina versus Portugal World Cup quarterfinal in Kansas City, if both of those teams win their groups and get that far. And I mean, it could be a World Cup quarterfinal, and some people consider it the biggest game in the history of the sport. And the fact that thing could be in Arrowhead just because it's probably the final ever Messi versus Ronaldo, I think is just crazy.
Okay, yeah, that's the epicenter of the soccer world coming together right there in Kansas City. Crazy.
But yeah, so Ecuador versus Curacao.
Okay, yeah, that would definitely be better for Children's Mercy Park for sure.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like you can fill it out even if you don't fill it out. You would, and even for like someone like me, I'm a journalist. I don't make that much good money, and I'd love to go to a World Cup game, and I can't afford these ludicrous prices that FIFA's pouring out, where it's getting prices of minimum of 500 for group stage games for some games. But I'll pay 100 just to say I've been to a World Cup game. I'll pay $120, $150 to go see Ecuador versus Curacao. But then putting Children's Mercy Park, where it's a 25, whatever it is, 1,000 capacity, rather than giant Arrowhead Stadium, where the nearest person to me is going to be 20 seats away.
Yeah, I think I've heard a couple coaches talk about it, like saying that like the football stadiums, NFL stadiums, I should say, are a little too big for like the soccer environment. You want a more like intimate setting for a soccer match.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it gets the World Cup. It's the intensity and it's the passion, and it's having the fans right there. So when Ecuador scores to go 1-0 up and they cheer, and you can see about 20 people in the stands. It's not going to be the same effect. But again, maybe Kansas City will shock me and we'll have a sellout for that game. I don't want to downplay my city.
No. How do we think the U.S. is going to do in Group D? I know Paraguay's in there and Australia's in there, and then they're waiting for another team through some qualifying stuff. How do we see U.S. doing? Because I know a lot of these tournaments, a lot of the main players like Pulisic and Weston McKennie and a lot of those top players aren't really playing in a lot of these other CONCACAF tournaments and things like that. So having this whole team together, how do you think that they fare?
I mean, with it obviously being on home soil, each host nation, they're guaranteed 3 home games. So Mexico will stay in Mexico, Canada will stay in Canada. So the US, they said Paraguay, Australia, and one of these other European teams in Path C. It's an easily winnable group for the US. So I think if they don't qualify out of that group on home soil, I don't know if Pochettino gets on the team bus. Like, I think he's fired before Poch even, is out the stadium. And from there, obviously, it just depends on who you play. The US might get unlucky and run into a buzzsaw of Spain in, round of 32 or something like it. I think those things can happen. I thought England at the last Euros stood a great chance, and we run into not go Euros, go World Cup. Sorry, we run to France in the quarterfinals. It's like, you can do so much. But I think if you're looking at a reasonable expectation for the US would be quarterfinals. I think if you're going to be an optimist and be excited, and obviously it's at home, I think you can say they could push for the semi-finals. I just think the biggest concern right now is Poch's record against top 25 teams in the FIFA rankings. It's abysmal. I know the US has a decent win not too long ago against trying to remember Uruguay. They beat Uruguay 5-1. But other than that, it's been a little shaky against those top teams. So it's whether the US can put it all together when it matters in those knockout rounds to actually make a decent run, or will they fold at the first sign of a Belgium or Morocco or something.
You mentioned Pochettino. He's still fairly new to the position. What have you seen about how he's kind of formed this U.S. team together? Have you seen a lot of bad, a lot of good, in between? What have you identified?
So a lot of bad, and it slowly got better. I think he's been stubborn with the players that he wants to work with, bringing, and he has been dealt a difficult hand at times. And like you said, guys like McKennie and Pulisic, and some of these players out in Europe, guys don't want to fly all the way back to America to play a couple of friendlies, because that's the other thing too. Typically at least the World Cup would have been, or the US would have been going through World Cup qualifying during this last year and a half. But because they've got the automatic qualifier, they've just been playing friendlies against, Paraguay and Australia, Japan, Ecuador. So, I guess that in the middle of the season, these players from Europe don't want to be traveling literally across the world for a friendly. And that's a whole debate in itself. I think personally, if I was given a chance to play for my country, I'd do it. I mean, hell, I'm flying around the US every other weekend anyway. Mm-hmm. Give me a cozy private jet and send me somewhere to play. That's fine. But anyway, so I think for a while with Poch, you were seeing he lost to South Korea 2-0, and there was a good draw of Ecuador. Even going back, they won the Gold Cup, which was great. Lost to Switzerland, I remember way back. But anyway, they bring it together and they go out and they play Uruguay and beat them 5-1. And that was, I can't remember exactly. I think it was like 3-0 at half time or something crazy. They're pulling it together. And I don't know if there'll be any more games scheduled between now and the World Cup for the US. So that's the other question, I guess, Nick. It's got Poch hasn't worked that much with some of the stars. So once they are with the team, how is he going to integrate them, and how exciting or how fluid will it look?
That's the big question, and we'll have to wait and see. How do you think your boys from England will do?
Again, a little bit higher expectations thing what I was saying for US, even on home soil, and I think that's just because it is England and it's a classic English optimism going into a big tournament. That football's coming home, and then it never does come home. But again, with our group, it's a group we should win. But Croatia getting knocked us out of the World Cup back in 2018. That was devastating, lost in the semi-finals. Ghana, again, it's historically one of the best African nations. I think the Black Stars have struggled a bit this year, but as a general rule, they one of the better teams. And then Panama, which poor old Panama. And we played Panama back in the 2018 World Cup and beat them 6-0, I think, with Harry Kane stat padding a hat trick against them and stuff like that. And again, it just depends on who we draw after that. Will we get fortunate and get a Algeria or an Ecuador or Tunisia, something like that? Or will we run straight into a buzzsaw and get like the Netherlands in around a 32? But again, I would like to see England make a run at winning it. But at the end of the day, I get there are also other very good teams. I mean, Portugal looks great. Spain is great. I'm not going to say I hope because it's Germany, but I'm expecting Germany to finally bounce back because I think they've missed the last couple of World Cup knockout groups or knockout stages. So if we don't win it, obviously I'm not going to be throwing my toys out like a pram. But I'd expect a legitimate, serious run. I mean, we just went through all of World Cup qualifying. Again, not against very good teams, but we didn't concede a single goal in 8 games. And that's actually impressive in itself. I don't care who you're playing. I mean, I just watched Real Madrid yesterday. They played a Division 3 team in the Spanish Cup, and it finished 3-2. They still conceded 2 goals, this little team. So, to go through a whole World Cup qualifying process of not conceding a single goal, it's good omens. I'll say that much.
For sure, yeah. You have to look at the positives always. Like you said, you want to be an optimist. Mm-hmm. What is your prediction? Who do you think will meet in the final and who wins?
Oh boy, I'd have to look at a actual bracket because I could just say 2 teams who was logically meeting the quarterfinals, like Portugal and Argentina. But realistically, I still think France is a just wearing machine. We've seen them the last couple of tournaments going back to the 2018 World Cup, which they won. They remind me a little bit of different play style, but like what we saw from Germany in the late 2000s, early 2010s. And what we saw from Spain, for a matter of fact, where they won, 2 Euros in the World Cup back to back to back. But anyway, yeah, France, Spain up there. From Argentina, probably. I know they're defending champions. They are bringing Messi back. And obviously, they've still got everyone else. Julian Alvarez, I love as a player. Alexi McAllister, Liverpool player, close to my heart, obviously. Emi Martinez. Take whatever opinion you want on him as a goalkeeper, but he's still a good goalkeeper. So I can see Argentina being in the mix. But yeah, I mean, that's the fun of the World Cup at the end of the day. It's win or you go home, you get surprises. It'd be great to see another African nation like Morocco or something like that making a deep run. We'd love to see one of the Asian countries make a run. Korea and Japan. I know Japan's got a good little squad over there as well. So, yeah, let's have some fun with it, Nick.
For sure, yeah. This summer is going to be popping for sure. A lot of people will be watching the sport that you love.
If you can't tell, yeah.
Yes, if you already can't tell. How did you end up from England to Kansas City? Let's tell people that story.
Oh, that's unfortunately not the most fun story. Long story short, my parents, we talked about moving to America. They wanted to find a way, and ultimately it was through my dad, where he had someone worked for a company called Capgemini. It's international network management, IT stuff. And there was a guy from Kansas City office. My dad worked in Manchester, would commute from Liverpool, which is about 35, 40-mile commute. Nothing dreadful. But, in England, that's like going across the state. You don't leave your own city in England. But, no, a guy from the US was coming over. Someone else was supposed to be taking care of him, and that guy called in sick. So you're like, crap, we need someone to go pick him up from the airport and show him around. So my dad did. So yeah, my dad's like, I'll go pick him up, take him for lunch, this and that. They became friends. And on the way out, he was like, oh, Mark, if there's anything I can do, just let me know. So my dad was like, well, if you have any jobs in America, and he basically created a position for him in their Kansas City office. So yeah, 2011, family ships over. It was 10 days before my freshman year of high school. So I really got dropped in the deep end of that. And I thought high school was going to be like High School Musical, which honestly, on the first day, I walked in. It's just school spirit as a whole. You know, Blue Valley Northwest, it's a school of 1,800 kids. You know, school spirit strong, the Huskies, this and that. I went to Maricourt High School in England. It's literally, people probably hate their school more than they like it. It's, you know, it's literally just a place you go to learn and then you go home. So to arrive in America and there's a pep rally with a mascot in a husky costume running past me and cheerleaders, you know, chanting BBNW, I'm just like, where the hell am I? And I remember a teacher saying, you can smile, you know. I was like, okay. But yeah, so 2011, went through high school, went on to go to KU for pre-med. Quickly realized by my second semester, waking up at 8 a.m. every morning for bio and chem wasn't my deal. And I'd say maybe half a year after that, going into sophomore year, I met you and good old Griffin Hughes, third of the trio, now out in Denver.
Shout out Griffin Hughes for sure.
Shout out Griffin Hughes.
Griffin Hughes.
I heard he did all of your design for the podcast, actually.
Yeah. You see the CC behind me. He put that together. Amazing work that he does there in Denver for altitude and all those things. We love that guy. He's a good friend of ours. What were some of the American things that when you came here you were like, I don't like this, but now you're doing it now living in this country?
Football. No, honestly, I mean, I'd say it wasn't probably until maybe late high school that I really, you know, started to at least take an interest in football. You know, I wasn't actively watching, but you know, when I first got to the US, the Chiefs stunk. You know, it was like 2-14 season, and yeah, Tyler Thigpen, quarterback, and Matt Castle. You know, go guys like Dwayne Bowe and Jamal Charles, and you still had fun players. But it's a sport I didn't know. I found it incredibly slow. The Chiefs sucked, so it wasn't even like I got to watch a winning team. And yeah, so it was kind of late high school. You know, Alex Smith, we had the Alex Smith years through college. And that's the other thing, through college, we went to KU. We went 0-12 while we were at KU, Nick. Like, that wasn't a fun football team. It was go tailgate for, you know, an hour or two before the game, have a great time, and then you're 21-0 down to Oklahoma State by the end of the first quarter.
And you're even at halftime, maybe even before then.
Yeah. So like that didn't really lend to my football experience. And you know, I'll allow people to say to a minute extent that I'm a little bit part of the Chiefs bandwagon. And again, I was following with Alex Smith, and I was following along with before, you know, when they weren't as good. But you know, obviously, it got super exciting with Pat Mahomes when he came in 2018. And then yeah, it just kind of took off from there, and obviously now it's literally all that I do. Literally.
Yeah.
So
Did you ever picture that? Did you ever picture that in your life?
No, it's funny actually. I mean, even when I was covering soccer, you know, I knew football. I probably just from watching as much sports as I did, probably knew it decently well. So you know, the same as the average American. But I was kind of like, man, I couldn't imagine having to be a NFL writer or even a college football writer, and having to, you know, get into the weeds of what I'm watching. And here I am now at bowl games talking about leverage points along the O-line. I'm like, okay.
And voting in the AP poll.
Voting in the AP poll. I know. And, you know, someone's going to hear this and they're like, oh, this British guy who doesn't watch football until a decade ago is now voting on my mighty Oklahoma Sooners. I'm like, okay, yeah.
They shouldn't have to care about that.
No, it shouldn't. They do. They do.
Oh, man. All right, Shaun. Well, great conversation with you. We're looking forward to the World Cup. We're looking forward to more of your AP votes in the top 25, more of your Boise State coverage for football and basketball now. Where can people see all of your work and follow along with and maybe complain about your AP votes?
Oh, you can definitely complain about the AP votes at my Twitter. It's Shaun Goodwin ID. I guess that's my personal account, which you're welcome to follow. That's a little bit more soccer-centric, and I'll just mostly be retweeting stuff about Liverpool. My work account, Shaun Bronco Beat for Twitter. And then if you're on Facebook, Boise State Sports at Idaho Statesman, we just have a Facebook page. All of our Boise State content goes on there. But yeah, that's about it. I'm not too exciting. I don't have a TikTok account, so I don't have a public Instagram account I'm willing for you guys to know about. But yeah, otherwise, idahostatesman.com, all my content is there as well. And yeah, I appreciate it, Nick. I guess it's the earliest I've been awake all week because obviously football season just finished, and I had a couple of days off earlier this week, and in about an hour and a half, I'll be going to see Leon Rice for Boise State basketball. For any mid-major hoops fans, again, follow my BSU basketball coverage. But yeah, no, it's great, Nick. Again, we've been close friends since college, which is, gosh, now.
We're old, man. We're old.
Yeah, I mean, I've known you for a decade at this point.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm eyeing 30 in March.
Yeah, just turned 29, so crazy.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I hope this time next year, maybe we'll get to do the same. Another postseason. World Cup to talk about next time, unfortunately, but maybe we can do a World Cup breakdown over the summer. I don't know. It's your show. Don't let me dictate it.
Yeah. I'll come up with something, maybe, but I don't think we're going to be talking about the U.S. winning it, but, England. I guess you never really know, or England. I don't know. I guess you don't really know. All right, well, I appreciate you joining me on Cousins Conversation, Shaun, and peace out, everybody.